Welcome to Cordkillers. The world of entertainment is turned upside down, and we're just trying to find out how to watch what we want, where we want, whenever we want. I'm Tom Merritt. Where's the good stuff, Brian Brushwood?
Oh my goodness! It was back in bed because we're doing another early edition of the show.
That's right. I have coffee and Cordkillers. What more could you want to wake up your? Maybe we should be. Oh wait, Scott Johnson already has a morning show.
We'll call ours "Cut the Stream."
The morning steam. All right, no, let's just do the supply run as usual.
All right.
Supply run.
Where's the beef? The beef is right here. We have been kind of covering the demise of regional sports networks slowly over the past 12, 15 years. And most recently, we've been talking about the Diamond Media Company that is operating the Bally Sports Networks. Those are a dozen or more regional sports networks in the United States that offer, say, your local hockey team, your local baseball team, your local basketball team for cable networks. Sometimes they'll have a streaming package. Sometimes they'll be on streaming services. A lot of times they're not on streaming services. Famously, they had a spat with YouTube TV. And they also have been struggling to pay the teams for the rights to stream because Diamond is in bankruptcy. However, they have entirely failed with the Dallas Stars hockey team. The Dallas Stars has decided to partner up with a different company called A Parent Media Company, APMC. As a guy who runs a show called Daily Tech News Show, I salute A Parent Media Company for their name.
And as my favorite breakfast cereal.
So they are going to use APMC's Victory Plus. APMC is based in Alberta, Canada, so probably a couple of hockey fans there, to stream Dallas Stars hockey games for everyone in the Dallas Stars market, right? So that means not just the greater Dallas area, but, regions like Oklahoma, Arkansas, places around there. If you're in an IP address that appears to be from one of those areas, they will let you watch Dallas Stars hockey for free. It's a fast service, free ad-supported television. You agree to watch some ads, which you're probably going to watch with these games anyway. There's no getting around that. And you get to watch all the Stars games. Now, if you are not in the region, or your IP address does not appear to be in the region, you can still watch the shows. So like the pregame show, the news show, they're still going to have a lot of those shows that these regional sports networks would carry. But you won't be able to watch the games. You'd have to go pay for a subscription service like ESPN Plus to get that. And APMC says they would love to do this for more teams. So if it goes well for the Dallas Stars, perhaps they will get other teams, maybe not even just hockey teams. I know they're in Alberta, but they could do basketball, they could do possibly baseball. And I love, Brian, the idea that this would be breaking out the subscription version of the service and saying, hey, you know what? We're just going to give you free ad-supported sports streaming.
Man, Tom, and maybe this is just a symptom of me not as being into the sports as you are.
Yeah, sure.
But I mean, the idea that yet again another splintered way to get half of an experience for another team.
You mean because of the blackout, right?
Yeah. The idea of tuning.
This does
in
not solve the blackout.
Yeah, right. The idea of tuning in to watch a bunch of the pre-show stuff that is like, anyway, gonna have a game now. Bye.
I think you're in the market though. So you would never notice. No, and I agree. Getting rid of this blackout situation, or at least making it simple, right? I understand that. Actually, let me think this through. The rationale behind the blackouts is we want you to pay the cable company to watch the game. So we really, really don't want it available to people inside the market because not we want to pay the cable company. We want the cable company to pay us. So we don't want people inside the market to be able to get it elsewhere. That's why it's blacked out elsewhere. This is the reverse. it's saying, oh, those rights have been sold to ESPN. So if you're outside the market, you have to pay them. But the reason I'm talking this through, Brian, is that might not stay that way forever. It's possible that, eventually this kind of thing just becomes the way everybody watches all of these games if it's super successful. But in the meantime, there's always going to be out-of-market rights and in-market rights because we're dealing with overlapping contracts, right? There was a contract that gave ESPN the out-of-market rights, and so that's causing the problem here.
Well, and that is definitely one of the things that we've picked up on over the last 14 years of covering this beat is no matter what words they say about why they're doing the thing, oftentimes we're seeing disingenuous, like, this is the wave of the future. Yeah, it's going to be great. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Never mind, because it's Tuesday. There's a lot of backroom negotiating. There's a lot of testing whether or not this, we only saw so-and-so amount drop off from the whatever. So this all feels like just tinker talk. Maybe that'll be a segment.
That's Tinker Talk. Welcome to Tinker Talk. That is the empty half of the glass. If I may describe the full half of the glass, you don't have to pay. That's a big deal if you're just talking inside the market. Let's set aside the blackout thing for a second. Inside the market, I live in Los Angeles, where you can only watch the Dodgers legally if you buy cable. Until recently, when they started to allow you to buy DirecTV Stream to watch it. Here, anybody in the market can download Victory Plus and watch the game. You don't have to pay anybody. You don't have to subscribe to cable. It's an app you put on your device.
Do they not even transmit like a local OTA over the air system?
For these games, they haven't done that in a long time. I don't know if the Stars have occasional over-the-air broadcasts and whether that would be affected. The Dodgers used to. They would have a smattering of games over the air, but they don't anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is a morning grouchy Brian, where I'm like, doesn't sound so free if you have to pay for internet for it. And if you're paying for the internet, why aren't you getting it for free?
Now that is old man grouchy. Like, there's no way to get Cordkillers over the air either. Right?
Okay, all right. You know what? I withdraw my comment.
In fact, Cordkillers is available just absolutely for free, isn't it? Like you don't have to pay a dime for it.
I mean, sure, if you want to be a cheap freeloader and try to undercut our whole endeavor here, but we all know that the true Cordkillers are the ones that go over to patreon.com/Cordkillers. They keep us loud, live, and independent. They support us for, I don't know, $1. You know what? Maybe $2, $3 an episode.
Yeah. You guys, there's no limit. There's no limit to your generosity to us.
Yeah. Plus, you get early access to the full experience and exclusive access to Spoiler in Time hidden inside our whole Aftertalk segment. We work really hard in order to bring you all of the very best for 14 years and running, and it's all because of our patrons. So head over to patreon.com/Cordkillers.
Have you ever bitten into a candy thinking it was like solid chocolate and then found there was like a delicious caramel or a cream or something inside?
Yes.
That's Aftertalk.
Okay, good.
You think you weren't sure.
I've bitten into a piece of chocolate and there was a bug.
That's not Aftertalk. Actually, maybe occasionally that's Aftertalk, but most of the time that's not Aftertalk. And Spoiler in Time is that creamy center. All right, that's enough of that. Let's go on to the search party. Brian, I desperately want to create a segment on Cordkillers called Trailer Park, and there are so many reasons I can't, not the least of which is we don't always have 17 trailers to talk about, but this week we do. So think of Search Party as your own personal trailer park, starting with Captain America Brave New World. This is us seeing the new Cap for the first time in a movie. It's coming February 14th, and should I spoil the little bit at the end for the people?
Yeah, I mean, it's a trailer. A trailer is a trailer is like a billboard. It's like, hey, I don't want to get to the point where it's like, well, there's a new billboard up on I-95.
It's got a really cool message. Yeah, we see a little glimpse of Red Hulk there at the end.
Yeah, and they also, as magicians put it, they paint it red. The fact that Thunderbolt Ross doesn't have a mustache, which is kind of funny. It's like that's such a Harrison Ford thing to do. It's like, I don't care about your movie. I know I'm not going to grow a mustache. Mustaches are dumb. Just write it into the script. And forgive me, Tom. I'm not trying to be a Harrison Ford hater here. I've enjoyed most of his back catalog, but my, does that guy phone in a joyless performance these days?
Hold on. Are you saying he belongs in a museum?
You know what? I'm not even going to say that. I'm going to say he belongs somewhere in the back next to the Ark of the Covenant. like what movie has made you happier for him having been in it in the last decade?
In the last several years, yeah. Actually, I really did like him I enjoyed him in Force Awakens. I thought that was fun. That would probably be the last one, though. I would argue that if you're going to mimic the modern world, if you want Captain America Brave New World to feel modern, then you need an ancient doddering president who is way too old, no matter what party you support. So
Fair enough. Yeah. I withdraw my question, counselor.
Stranger Things season 5 is still being shot. We're not getting a trailer. We're not even getting a release date, but they did give us some behind the scenes looks. It's a little featurette that shows folks, on set doing stuff, talking about how this is the best Stranger Things season ever. And it was so great to be seeing all the other actors. And I'm sure they mean all of that stuff. You're not going to find a lot of surprises in here. There's a couple of looks at new cast members. If you're into that, seeing them for the first time. Millie Bobby Brown is in it, but she does not appear on set in any of it, which makes me think through that absence that something is going to go on with 11 that they just don't want to show us. But I don't know. It did make me remember that I'm interested in Stranger Things.
Okay, remember that you are currently interested, or that you once were interested?
That I previously was interested. Yes,
because I'm afraid the strange thing for me was that I fell off in my attention span on this one.
Yeah. Hey, remember when CNN tried to do a streaming service separate from Max, and it fell apart, and then the guy who was behind it left Warner, and then they put CNN inside of Max. And remember how I said that's the smart thing? That's what people are doing. NBC News is in Peacock. You've got CBS News and Paramount. This makes sense. Just make CNN the news product of Max. Remember all that, Brian?
Oh, this sounds like we're doing a little bit of Tinker Talk.
It's time for another episode of Tinker Talk. Because Warner Brothers Discovery is apparently going to try to make a CNN standalone subscription product by the end of the year.
Okie dokie. We believe you this time. We're not cynical, jaded, and no longer believe any press releases. You are.
I will submit Fox News is available free with ads, but offers a paid subscription for super fans. I'm not sure that I consider CNN's fans to be super fans in the way that Fox News has super fans. But I don't know. Sure. Why not? They are also consolidating the newsroom, which I actually think is a good idea. Unfortunately, that led to 100 newsroom personnel being laid off. That is not great. But the idea that you should have a different newsroom for digital versus television, I think is long gone. We consolidated the newsroom at CNET and at ZDNet even before that, like back in the early 2000s. So I think it's good. In fact, they're even consolidating the international operation. So there's just one newsroom for everything. That's probably the smart thing if I had to be nice to them.
Well, if you want, I don't know, just say, let's call it a unified product with the same look and feel across all platforms. That might be a thing that you might want to do.
Yeah. Or maybe just have one platform, but you know.
Tinker Talk.
Tinker Talk. That's it for Tinker Talk. James Gunn is all over Cleveland, apparently. Len Peralta and Rich Stroffolino, both Clevelanders that I work with, have talked about that, they're just running. He's staying there on the weekend, people running into him in cafes. And as they continue to shoot Superman, James Gunn has unveiled the Superman logo for the movie, which comes out in less than a year now, July 11th.
I've only read a few of the recent era of Superman, but this seems I've seen this version of the logo in a couple of them.
It's kind of a modern take on the classic logo. Is that how you would describe it?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it almost doesn't look like an S. Like, you kind of have to know it's an S to see it.
To understand. Yeah, it looks like a stripe.
The color scheme is very retro Christopher Reeve era. Yeah.
And if people don't know or have forgotten, this is not starting over. This is not an origin story, even though it's a different Superman and it's a new start for the story under the DCU. It is picking up midstream. We are Superman's been around for a while. We're just going to get a Superman story, not see him become Superman. Thank goodness. NBCUniversal is doing an interesting thing. Obviously, Peacock is going to be the home for streaming Olympics. They're going to have more Olympic coverage on Peacock than they've ever had before. You'll have primetime coverage on NBC in the United States, but they're going to stream 24/7 coverage on the USA Network in 4K HDR. So starting on the morning of July 24th through the evening of August 11th, if you just want to watch the Olympics and you don't want to have to choose what you watch, and you have access to the USA Network, you can just turn it on.
Do you think that is an indication of the popularity of the Olympics or the state of the USA Network?
Both, actually. I think, right on both counts. I think it shows that the USA Network is entirely preemptible at this point, and possibly might get more viewers by doing this. And I think it does show that the Olympics are still considered popular. And as someone who does enjoy watching them, sometimes I just want to turn it on. And even having to choose, like, wait, is it MSNBC? Is that got the things I want? Sometimes I just want to turn on a stream. So hopefully the stream will also be in Peacock, and I think it will be. So you can just be like, yeah, give me the 24/7 stream. I just want to watch some stuff.
Very rarely do I find myself, happier because now I have to pick between javelin and relay. It would be javelin.
Do I really want breakdance or surfing right now?
Like, wait, is breakdance still? Oh.
It's a demonstration sport in the Paris Olympics this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. This is story I felt like, wait, is this real, or did someone say to ChatGPT, make a story that will make Brian crazy? The Penguin and Dune Prophecy will be branded HBO instead of Max after all. Apparently this was a big deal, that they were going to have these Dune Prophecy, Penguin, these big name fan rich products be branded Max and not show up on HBO if you only get HBO, which there's still some people who do. And now that won't be the case. Casey Bloys told Variety that using IP as a delineator between the two platforms started to feel unnecessary as the shows began staffing up. Bloys explained that in many cases, the creative teams behind the new crop of shows were using the same methods, the same kind of thinking as those who have worked on traditional HBO shows. If you're confused, if you get Max, you'll still get these shows just because you get the grainy HBO thing instead of the Max Originals thing before it starts. And if you only get HBO, I guess you'll get these shows, and maybe you wouldn't have before.
I don't believe a word of this reasoning. Here's what it sounds like to me, because HBO has never been, we definitely use a particular set of protocols, and the protocols are different from the Max protocols. It's always been a quality identifier. I'm sure the gears are very similar between a Timex and a Rolex. but it's not like you'd be halfway through building a watch and then say, well, these are the same gears as in a Rolex, so we're just going to call it a Rolex. No, what you want is all the people working on these shows want the prestige of the well-earned reputation of being an HBO original as opposed to a Max original. And so some people were fussing behind the scenes, and this is a totally bogus reason that they're giving for it. Basically, baby wanted bottle, and now they're an HBO show. And now maybe these are, if they truly were so good, so surprisingly good, then they would have flatly said, you know what, we intended for these to be Max originals, but these are so good that we're going to make them HBO originals.
That's kind of what he was trying to say, but you said it so much better than he did.
Except for they didn't say that at all. He said we have the same parts as this Kia Soul has the same. It's got a tailpipe just like.
He didn't want the people working on Max originals to feel like they're not pretty.
Yes. Well, guess what? You're not as pretty. That's why you're on Max. And that's, look, this is a good thing. You want to have two Denny's so you can say, let's go to Denny's, and then say, no, not that one. Let's go to the good one.
The good Denny's. Yeah. From reading the Variety article, it sounded like they backed themselves into a corner by calling these Max originals in a way that meant that there was legal language in the international distribution that prevented them from changing these to HBO, and so they had to like go and alter contracts and do negotiations. So they had to work hard. You might think, oh, well, it's easy, just call them HBO, right? There was some distribution channel stuff that they had to work out, and they did it. And if they did that much work, put the lawyers through that much hell, it sounds to me, Brian, like maybe they're regretting dropping the name HBO from the platform.
Well, if they are, they're doing it wrong because they are on the right track. Supernova Girl points out in the chat that HBO is a more recognizable and trusted name. Yeah, you know how you keep it trustable and recognizable? You don't fill it with garbage that's not very good. And if it does make the cut, you make sure to point out that it's only making the cut because it's extraordinary. And then you better, with a straight face, give it the HBO promotional experience.
All right, let's move on to Apple TV, which is not TV, it's Apple TV. And they have a new Time Bandits show coming out. Just got a trailer for its July release. Jermaine Clement and Taika Waititi are the forces behind adapting the 1981 film into a television show. And I think it looks intriguing. I trust Taika and Jermaine. I was a little nervous, though, about the immensity of taking this over. But, it looks like they're on to something. And it's not starring them. They both have some cameo roles, it looks like, from the trailer. But I guess we'll find out when the first two episodes come on July 24th.
Yeah, I watched this trailer twice because you know that I'm a big fan of the original. And the first time I was just happy to see what appeared to be a quality representation of this movie. But then the second time I watched it, I got annoyed because they're explaining your closet is in a time nexus, and that's the tubes that we get to use, whatever. But I know that what's her name, Phoebe from Friends, has really good
Lisa Kudrow. Yeah.
Lisa Kudrow, I think, is an interesting choice for it. We'll see. This is one I always encourage everybody to be happy when anybody tries anything. But this is another one that is precious to me, and so I'm nervous about the handling of it, especially because as much as I love the beginning of Our Flag Means Death, it definitely stopped being a pirate show at some point.
Sure,
and that's what I worry about.
One thing I know that all of us have been clamoring for decades now is a sequel to Gladiator, right, Brian?
Yeah. How did the first Gladiator age for you? Because I remember thinking it was the coolest movie ever when it came out, and then watching it 2 years later and be like, how the heck did this make Best Picture?
I don't know that I've seen it recently. I'm trying to remember if I ever watched it a second time. But yeah, I never thought Gladiator was really a Best Picture. I was surprised the year that it got Best Picture.
It felt like one of those ode gimmies for Alien and for Ridley Scott's other and Blade Runner and Ridley Scott's other work.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. There was a time in my life when I was living in San Francisco on my own. And so on the weekend, I would just go see a movie on my own. And Gladiator was the thing I watched. I knew nothing about it, enjoyed it. And I was like, well, that was kind of a popcorn flick. And then it won Best Picture. I'm not saying it's bad, but I also felt it was an entirely self-contained movie. And so the fact that Ridley Scott is making a second one makes me think, well, it's Ridley Scott. He must have decided he had more story to tell. He's got an amazing cast: Pedro Pascal, Denzel Washington, Paul Mescal. We'll find out on November 22nd, I suppose. I don't think this gets people in the theaters in the new world where people go to the theaters for very different reasons than they used to. I think they're still going to the theaters to see movies. Inside Out 2 showed that, but not always, because Mad Max Fury Road or Furiosa showed that. So people are going to watch Gladiator 2 at home, I think.
Well, and also
if they want to watch it.
Forgive me, this trailer I didn't get to watch, but are any of the original cast or any of the Gladiator 1 team there?
Yes, one of them is, but it is very much a like. I'm blanking on Russell Crowe's character's name, but he changed the world, and now we're years later, and we're living in the world he changed. So there's flashbacks to the original movie in this trailer. I'm not quite sure how much of that will be in the actual movie.
Yeah, in that case, my only beef would be with calling it Gladiator 2. That seems something that you would do like the next or the year after Gladiator 1 comes out. Like otherwise, especially we have the precedent of like the whole Fast and Furious franchise. Like we all know there's sequels, but they don't feel the need to actually have any kind of nomenclature that makes sense in any way whatsoever.
Yeah. But Paul Mescal is playing Lucius grown up. Lucius was the kid in the original Gladiator. So the kid has now grown up into adult who now fights in the arena, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Rick and Morty anime has a trailer out. English language version is set to premiere August 15th on Adult Swim. Subtitled Japanese version coming August 17th on Adult Swim. And then everything the next day on Max, I think, right? Is that right? Yeah. That's where that stuff shows up. These are Rick and Morty episodes with different voices and different style of anime. But these are not like anthologies. These are like, what if we let like the pros of anime make episodes of Rick and Morty in their own style? And it's Takashi Sano, Tower of God, who is the director of the 10 episodes.
So we had previously watched and talked about the one-off anime that they did. It was like it reminds me of this SNL sketch where describing a Puff Daddy at the time. Suge Knight from prison says, "I don't get it. It's like he's doing Weird Al Yankovic, but he ain't funny." Like that was how I felt about that full episode. Like
this looks better than that to me. Okay. I think giving a respected director freedom to make 10 episodes might have paid off. So you're getting Rick in a pseudo world between multiverses. Summer helping Space Beth. Morty falls in love with a mysterious girl. Like. This is basically saying, hey, it's an infinite universe in Rick and Morty. One of those universes is anime. Here's what that would look like.
Yeah. If it's good, it's good.
Yeah.
I'll give it a try.
You're a fan of Severance, right?
Oh, Tom, am I?
Can you wait till January 17th? Because that's when the season 2 is coming. And we got a teaser. I wouldn't even call it a trailer. It's just, like, hey, this is what Severance looks like. It's got people in an office. And then Gwendolyn Christie makes a brief appearance. She has a new character we don't know anything about.
First of all, that'll be a fine birthday gift as I turned 50 years old on January 17th, 2025.
Welcome to Colo Guard country.
Second, I already pooped in a box.
Hey, you're ahead of the game.
That was the one, like seeing Severance's production put on pause during the strike was when I really shook my fist at Hollywood and we were like, why can't we have nice things?
Yeah. I'm very much looking forward to this as well. I'm a big fan. We have a dog named Seven. He's a 3-month-old puppy. And so when he's in trouble, we call him Severance. We also got a trailer for Futurama season 12. That premieres July 29th on Hulu. If you've seen Futurama before, you'll know what's in this trailer. It's not terribly surprising, but it looks great. I'm a huge fan of Futurama, so I'm into that. It's good to know that's coming back on the 29th. Trailer for Terminator Zero anime coming to Netflix August 29th. And big news, Netflix next big live event is comedy. It's stand-up comedy. It's Joe Rogan. It's called Burn the Boats, and it's coming August 3rd.
That'll be interesting.
Yes, can say that again.
I wonder if they'll actually shoot it from his mothership here in Austin.
Joe Rogan has a mothership in Austin?
Yeah, the Ritz Theater is now Joe Rogan's comedy mothership.
Yeah, I'm trying to see if it says where it's shot, and I'm not seeing that. So yeah, I do not know. Perhaps they will. Perhaps you can go. Perhaps you can be in a Netflix special. Anyone in Austin, including Brian. All right, let's move on to the buried treasure.
Most people want to know why they suddenly got rich.
Buried treasure.
I have already heard Andrew Heaton's side of this story on his podcast. Brian, what have you been watching?
I watched, I'm almost done with my second lap of watching Fargo season 5. And ooh, is it good? And is it fun? There's a couple of cliched moments. If you get wrapped up on political red team, blue team stuff, you might find something to grouse about. But Fargo season 5 does something that I did not see coming, which is, in general, elements we've seen from previous seasons of Fargo have been somebody who does a little naughty thing, gets in over their head, has a series of miscalculations, and just everything spirals out of control. And usually each year or each season they throw in just something a little bit supernatural-ish or whatever. They don't do that this time. There is very clearly a good guy and very clearly a bad guy. And the good guy is a woman who continues to surprise with her ingenuity and tenacity and takes on the power that be in the form of Don Draper. And it is just a delight. I've rewatched the first episode 3 times. Just give the first episode alone a try and see how you like it.
Yeah, you don't have to have major national political events happen in the middle of your watching of Fargo season 5 to enjoy it, though, right?
No, it was a heck of a night, though.
Yeah. I was just checking. We don't have a line on the next season of Fargo, but just hearing you talking about rewatching it makes me excited for the next run of Fargo.
Yeah, it's on FX on Hulu. They have it available. So
I hope they never stop making this. I know they will. But, yeah.
Well, and as long as Noah Hawley's at the helm. I mean, he's good. He's really, really good.
It turns out, yeah. I finished Shogun. Did you finish Shogun?
I did.
Okay, so maybe we'll be talking about that in After Talk. It was good. There's a season 2, though, coming.
Well, I did you read the original book? Or?
No, I never did. I watched the miniseries back in the 80s, but I was 12 or whatever, so I don't remember anything about it really.
I was left with the impression, and we could talk details in spoiler in time, but I was left with the impression that there was plenty of territory to move forward into.
Okay, good. All right. Because we do finish with not to be spoilery here, but we do finish with an event that seems to certainly end a particular aspect of the relationship. So I'm excited. It was a hard watch. It was an enjoyable watch, very sophisticated, very well done, but it was a difficult watch. So if you're looking for something easy, to just relax to, I don't recommend Shogun. If you're like, no, I'm up for a challenge. I want something that's going to engage and challenge me and is, maybe going to be a little gory from time to time. I don't mind that, especially with battle scenes, medieval era battle scenes. Check out Shogun, also on Hulu. Is it FX on Hulu? I don't remember if it was that. Yeah, it is.
As a matter of fact, it was Shogun that got me to finally upgrade my Disney. I watched both Shogun and Fargo on my Disney Plus app, which again, that's a sentence I never thought I'd say.
Yeah, right. So the other thing that I enjoyed yesterday was a new episode of World's Greatest Con.
Oh my goodness! Yeah, we dropped our new episode. I wish I had more time to hype it beforehand, but once a baby's ready to pop, it's ready to pop. And boy, this is a good one. This is there's a legend, a tale that magicians love to tell about how Jean-Eugène Robert Houdin single-handedly stopped a war by having such an awesome magic show. There's a bit of a twist at the end of the story, but we walk you through it and the why a magician would be performing in Algiers in order to stop a war. By the way, the war continued until 1962. But why the legend is so powerful, and it's a really, really delightful piece. I hope you enjoyed it, Tom.
Oh, I did. Absolutely loved it. Was really unfamiliar with the connection with Houdini, which is really just he's the inspiration for the name, I guess. From what you said.
Like Robert Houdin was so legendary. And also, Houdini learned from his books, his teachings, and all of that stuff. And so he named himself, Little Houdin.
Oh yeah, Houdini. That alone was worth the price of admission. And then I got that amazing story with the end where you're like, oh, and that just might be the world's greatest.
I'm glad that landed with you because as we got there, it's like it was almost like it kind of dawned on us. It's like we traced all the threads and we're like, man, I'm not saying this is how it went,
but
it looked an awful lot.
No, that's beautiful, and almost teases a potential, continuation of the story should anyone find more evidence down the road or whatever. Very tantalizing. I loved it.
That's World's Greatest Con. Look for it on any of your podcast apps. You'll find it.
Let's move on to Scan the Horizon.
Send a scanning crew aboard.
Scanning the horizon!
So you know what happens when you merge a company like Skydance with Paramount? Well, you got nothing to do while you're waiting for the deal to close. So you come up with a new logo. and you know what happens when you put out a new logo? Large numbers of people hate it. Here's the new logo for Paramount, which uses Skydance's all caps curve for the word Paramount under the Paramount Mountain.
So clever. I bet the team just really felt good about this one.
I saw the angry headlines before I saw the actual logo, and then I looked at the logo and I was like, oh, is it that different? It had to be explained to me that they were doing the Skydance effect on Paramount before I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, I guess the other one's
honest,
nicer.
The mere fact that you and I both had the exact same reaction is an indication that the Skydance was the weaker of the two brands. Maybe you should have kept the iconic imagery of Paramount and just let the Skydance babies calm down because congrats. If you ever wanted a coffee brand that was themed after a epic movie studio, this is what it would look like. Like it just looks cheap. It looks cheap.
Lionsgate Coffee. Folks running the iOS 18 Beta 3 and Apple TV OS 18 Beta 3, which you have to sign up for a developer's account, but anybody could do that, can now try Apple Insight when you're watching an Apple TV Plus show. This is the thing that's like Amazon's X-Ray. It shows you info like actors' names, characters, songs playing. You can even tap the song and add it to Apple Music while you're watching. So again, this is in the beta. The iOS 18 beta is now publicly available. So you can do this on your phone right now. Just go into settings, software update, and then say, yeah, give me the beta. You don't have to be a developer for that. For the TV OS, you still do. But yeah, you could try it out right now and get Amazon X-Ray-like capability in your Apple TV Plus shows.
I am convinced that this feature is about to be on all of the services for one reason. X-Ray was experimental, and I like it quite a bit because I don't have to, I only have to press pause. I'm like, when I recognize that guy or that song or whatever, and it gives me the facts that I want to find. 3 letters, GPT. Congrats. Now we're going to have it on everything because it's very easy. Like at any given moment, is this an actor? What else have they been in? Write a script, do everything.
Yeah, just a tap away. What is going away is Redbox. If you've been looking at those Redbox rental kiosks, or if you've been wondering, do those still exist? Well, they're not going to exist for long. Chicken Soup for the Soul Entertainment, which owned Redbox and owned Crackle, has filed for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. So a lot of times when you say bankruptcy, people think, oh, they're going out of business. Chapter 11 bankruptcy lets you restructure your debt and stay in business. They are not doing that. They are converting to Chapter 7, which means you shut down, you lay off more than 1,000 employees, and you'll appoint a trustee to not only liquidate your assets, but in this case, investigate mismanagement by the controlling shareholder. It looks like there might be some lawsuits. One of the assets they will be liquidating, though, would be the trademarks. So presumably somebody could snap those up and restart Redbox or even Crackle.
Man, one of the coolest things I've ever seen was going to a friend's place, and he just had a full-on Pepsi vending machine.
Oh, yeah.
And except beers would come out or whatever. Like, I'm trying to think whether or not I want to buy a Redbox and what I would use it for.
Just buy the vending machine and just have a bunch of Blu-rays in it or something, or games Sling TV is the latest streamer to get pause ads. That's another thing that everybody's getting along with the X-ray type functionality. When you press pause, an ad comes up. However, Sling TV will let you turn them off. Now, they're on by default, but you can go into the settings of Sling TV and say, no, I don't want the pause ads to come up.
Opt in, not opt out.
It's opt in. It's opt out, right?
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I would prefer the other way.
It's true. But again, that's the empty half of the glass. The full half is Sling is actually giving you a choice, unlike everyone else who's like, well, too bad. There's no opting at all. So at least they let you.
That's why. Well, the question from the chat from ICU is who would opt in. The answer would be you could get a reduced rate, like
possibly,
$5 a month or $4 if you turn on the opt in, whatever.
I have been pleasantly surprised with this season of House of the Dragon, which I was just kind of marginally into, and then watched it and I'm like, oh, actually, this is dragging me in. Get it? Well, I'm not the only one. House of the Dragon drew 8.1 million viewers across HBO and Max in the U.S. for its 4th episode of season 2 on Sunday, setting records for House of the Dragon. So bigger than the premiere last month. So that means it's building its audience, which means more people are going, oh, I heard it's good. Let me get back into it.
You tell me when it's better than Shogun, and then I'll jump in.
It's going to be impossible for me to say it's better than Shogun, but it's certainly different. It's easier because it's not real. It's in English. So if you're an English speaker, that's makes it a lot easier. And it's all fantasy, right? So you're not watching something that you're like, well, this kind could have happened that way. It's better because it has dragons. If you're a fan of dragons, there are no dragons in Shogun, not one.
Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, plot wise, maybe not yet. Let's move on to the chatter.
You've got mail.
On episode 508, Michael says that I said motion smoothing is sometimes called filmmaker mode. Michael says, I'll quote from filmmakermode.com. By disabling all post-processing, e.g. motion smoothing, and preserving the correct aspect ratios, colors, and frame rates, Filmmaker Mode enables your TV to display the movie or television show's content precisely as it was intended by the filmmaker. Hey, you're right, Michael.
Got him.
Also, I will contend that people do call motion smoothing filmmaker mode. They're just wrong when they call it that, as Michael has pointed out. Matt says, I was listening to the Munsters Ultimate episode on the full experience, and you mentioned that the rankings are based on IMDb, but you were talking about things that were timely in the 60s affecting the ranking. Does IMDb take into account the TV show ratings of the time, or is it just people who went on IMDb and rated the episode? That might be why all the episodes are ranked about the same, because Munsters fans all ranked them about the same 20 years ago and IMDb was new.
That is a very, very good explanation, especially because like we noticed how many timely references there were. We mentioned, Vietnam and a couple of choice slurs. And it could be that if you're looking at that slate and you're, just going through and clicking how many stars you want in the 21st century, you're going to be all like, well, I got what that was about, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. No, it's a great point. Thank you for that, Matt. Derek wanted to recommend How I Met Your Mother for the full experience. Derek says, I took a peek at the IMDb rankings, and I think given the show's conceit, it would make for an interesting watch.
That might be the only way that I'll end up watching that show. Because I know it's a Shaggy Dog story where they're constantly teasing, and this is where we find out who the mother is or whatever. But if we could do that in 1 month and just rip that Band-Aid off.
Yeah.
And I am certain, I think what Derek is implying is that there's a wide delta between lots of stars and few stars on episodes.
And then Paul said, I was listening to you guys debate the next full experience, and I wanted to point out that Mike TV's first big gig was working on Exo Squad, which is an amazing buried treasure. It was kind of an American attempt at anime, only lasted a few seasons, but if you guys have never seen it, you should watch it, or at least ask Mike about it.
That might be one. If we were to do it, I would only want to do it and have Mike participate in it with us, because I wouldn't want to talk about, the art of somebody who we love so dear.
Indeed. Yeah. Well, thank you for the full experience suggestions. If you listen to the full experience, you will find out that our next full experience after we wrap up the Munsters this week will be Gargoyles, which is available on Disney+. So look for that last episode of the Munsters wrap up, and then on to Gargoyles. Our website is cordkillers.com. Our email address is cordkillers@gmail.com. We're live at twitch.tv/Night Attack Mondays at 7 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Pacific. Brian, I reckon we'll talk to him next time.
Yeah, I reckon so.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.